Hello, good people of YouTube, Mountbatten here, and I hope you're enjoying your 2019 so far, and I hope you had a lovely New Year's celebration last night. I hope everyone got home safe from if you went out, and if you had a bad 2018, here's to a wonderful 2019. If you had a good 2018, well, here's to a good 2019. And with the new year comes some sweeping changes to World of Warships. Patch 8.0, which will be coming out later this month, is of course the CV rework. Now this is bringing a lot of sweeping changes to the game, and carriers aren't that prevalent right now. Well, I mean, they're kind of prevalent right now because people are currently grinding up to their tier 10. So I've actually been seeing a lot of carriers in game, way more than used to be. But after this rework goes live, the carriers are going to be everywhere. So if you're having a rather bad case of sky cancer, you are probably looking for a ship to deal with this sky cancer. And fortunately for you guys today, I'm bringing you my top 10 AA ships. Now, AA is unfortunately getting what I would consider a humongous nerf in this CV rework. So even though these ships are getting nerfed, I mean, every ship in the game is getting nerfed in terms of AA. These 10 ships should still be some of the best ships to deal with your case of sky cancer. Now, this list is going from 10 to 1, but if a ship's at the end of this list, it doesn't mean it's a bad AA ship. It just means it's, in my opinion, I guess you could say the weakest of the top 10, but by no means is a bad AA ship. I mean, all these ships are absolutely fantastic AA ships. Now, there are some ships that didn't make the list. That's because I know one for sure people are going to say should have definitely been on this list. If you don't know how I work with these list videos, if I do not have the ship, if I do not own the ship, if I have not played the ship, I don't put it in a list video because I cannot vouch for it because I haven't personally played it. I'm not going to recommend you guys a ship that I haven't played. So, going in at number 10, we have the premium American Tier 5 battleship, USS Texas. Yes, the Texas. The absolute shredder of planes at Tier 5. Now, the Texas is a New York class battleship. However, if you look at the New York and look at the Texas, you might notice that in every square inch of empty deck space on the New York, there's an AA gun there on the Texas. Yeah, the ship is literally just bristling with AA guns. If you're going for a full AA build on the Texas, you can get its AA rating up to 80. 80 at Tier 5. That is the best AA you're going to have until you get to Tier 8 in terms of battleships. And, I mean, good God, the Texas, it just shreds planes. So much so that carriers will just outright avoid you if they know what they're doing. And if they don't know what they're doing and send some planes after you, you will absolutely decimate their squadrons. I mean, it's not uncommon for if a carrier consistently goes after a Texas, they're going to be out of planes within the first 5 minutes of the game if they are for some reason determined to get to the Texas. So Tier 5 and Tier 6 carriers pretty much cannot get through Texas's AA. It is literally that good. I mean, unless it's a really, really good carrier player and the captain of the Texas just, slips up, doesn't target a squadron or something. Now, Tier 7 carriers, they can kind of get through, but still it's going to cost them dearly in terms of planes. But still, Texas is an absolute AA monster. And when the rework goes live, she is probably going to be your best friend if you're playing around Tier 5. Moving on to number 9, we have HMS Vanguard, the Tier 8 British premium battleship. Now, the whole British line is very, very, very good at anti-aircraft. However, the Vanguard takes it one step further since it is a post-war battleship. Her AA mounts are all from the 1950s rather than the 1940s. If you look at her AA mounts, they are some of the same AA mounts you see on the Conqueror at Tier 10. There are those like really modern-looking 1950s quad Bofors mounts. The Vanguard's absolutely bristling in Bofors, and if you go with a AA build on her, I don't even have a full AA build on my Vanguard, and she has an AA rating of 93. I don't have the AA modules equipped on the ship, and she already absolutely decimates Tier 8 and Tier 9 carriers planes. She's pretty much untouchable by, especially if it's like a Tier 7 carrier. She's absolutely going to shred them. And Tier 6 carriers, I feel sorry for you guys if you're facing a Vanguard. Now, Tier 8, 9, and 10s, you know, they can get through, but still they're going to lose most of their planes in the process. Tier 10s are the only real ships that can go after a Vanguard and get through without losing most of their planes. But in some cases, if you do have a heavily AA spec Vanguard, then absolutely trollish AA. On top of that, Vanguard is also very maneuverable, so she can dodge carrier drop torpedoes like it's nobody's business. Moving on to number 8, we have the good old HMS Hood. And I did chuckle when reading the Hood off of this list, simply because Hood is an absolute troll in terms of AA. Because Hood gets a defensive fire consumable that increases its AA effectiveness by 2,400%. 2,400%. That is how much the defensive fire consumable on the Hood boosts its AA, because it has that rocket battery, which didn't work really well in real life. If you notice, I believe it's on top of, I believe it's number 2 and the number 3 turrets. You can see that rocket battery sit chilling there. When you press that defensive fire consumable that's supposed to simulate that, and Hood will absolutely just melt planes. Now, when that consumable is not active, it has decent AA, and it's decent leaning towards powerful, but Hood really shines when that consumable is active. It just drops planes like it's a duck hunter in the middle of duck season. It's hilarious to watch Hood just melt entire squadrons, and it doesn't really matter the tier of the carrier attacking it. When that consumable is active and you have like even a partial AA build on it, it just doesn't care. It just melts planes. It's hilarious. So moving on to number 7, we have the USS Kidd, the Tier 8 American Premium Destroyer. This destroyer just... it's amazing what this destroyer can do to planes. It has the defensive fire consumable, and if you have an AA build on her, you can get her AA rating up to 72. Then she gets a defensive fire consumable on top of that. And it's not uncommon to see a Kidd just erase multiple squadrons of planes that are sent after it. And this is a very useful skill for a destroyer too, because lots of times carriers would just drop planes right on top of you to spot you, to just keep you spotted. Kidd doesn't have to care about that. You can just quickly turn your AA on. Even without the consumable, it will absolutely wreck any planes above it. The consumable just gives it the ability to just absolutely clear the skies around it. A Kidd is a cruiser, battleships. Anyone who's having a bad plane day, it's their best friend. And Kidd's also pretty special to me because I do live like an hour away from the actual museum ship, and I must say they do have a lot of AA guns on that ship. Alright, so moving on to number 6, we have the Tier 10 American Cruiser, Worcester. Yes, the Worcester. I do not even have an AA build on this thing, and it still absolutely shreds planes. It does help that its main battery is counted in its AA, because this cruiser in real life was specifically built to be an anti-aircraft cruiser. So on top of having a lot of AA mounts, the main guns, or the main 152mm guns, are included in the AA rating. They are dual purpose, so this ship can absolutely shred planes. On top of that, gets a defensive fire consumable to help it on its way. And again, this is one of those ships, pretty much all these ships on this list, a smart carrier player will avoid until their AA mounts have been burned off. But since the Worcester's AA mounts are also its main battery guns, moving on to number 5, we have the Tier 8 Premium American Battleship, the Alabama. Now, you could put the Alabama, the North Carolina, or the Massachusetts here. All three of these ships do have absolutely fantastic AA. I just find that the Alabama has a bit more, so that's why it gets the honor of being in the number 4 slot. But really, you could put the North Carolina or the Massachusetts here. Yes, Alabama is a fantastic AA ship. It's North Carolina with more AA. And I was actually counting between the Alabama and the Massachusetts. Alabama has 4 more AA guns than the Massachusetts. Does that make them that big of a difference? No. So again, you can put the Massachusetts here if you really want to. They're pretty much the same ship in all aspects, just that the Massachusetts' guns are a bit less accurate, and its secondaries are a bit more powerful. But yes, you can always depend upon an Alabama to be a no-fly zone for any, well, yeah, it's really good against Tier 8 carriers, really good against Tier 9 carriers, and pretty good against Tier 10 carriers. If a Tier 10 really wants to sink an Alabama, it can. And on top of that, Alabama has some fantastic torpedo protection, so if it gets cross-dropped by a carrier, it will shred the planes. It'll take a torpedo or two, but because of its fantastic torpedo protection, it won't do that much damage to it. Moving on to number 3, we have everyone's favorite little machine gun, the USS Atlanta, the Tier 7 Premium American Cruiser. Yes, the Atlanta. It's the same case here in the Worcester as the Atlanta. Its main battery guns count as AA, count toward its AA rating, and Atlanta's guns are a bit easier to knock out, but still, it has fearsome AA. Gets unlimited charges of its defensive fire consumable. That's why it's so far down on this list, for one. And the defensive fire consumable increases its AA effectiveness by 200%. So it can shred planes just fine without the consumable, but when the consumable is active, dear God, does it drop planes. And again, it gets unlimited charges of this consumable. You just gotta wait for the cooldown, you can pop it again, unlimited charges. This is going to be a very, very valuable ship post 8.0. So coming in at the number 3 spot in this list, we have the glorious USS Iowa. Yes, the Iowa is the Tier 9 American battleship, obviously. Has fantastic AA. Put an AA build on this thing, it's an absolute no-fly zone. And at Tier 9, you can equip the AA Module 3, which increases the AA effectiveness even more in the ship. I don't even have that that module equipped on the Iowa, and she still has an A rating of 100, so I can equip that module and get glorious AA firepower on the Iowa. And Iowa's AA, it has a really powerful mid-range AA. Its long-range AA is pretty good, but once those planes close in closer to Iowa, it just starts dropping them like it drops it like it's hot. Pardon the youth reference there, but it does. Actually, moving on to number 2, we have the Tier 10 British battleship Conqueror. Every bit of AA on this thing, except for the secondary guns, is glorious 40mm Bofors. Yes, it has those glorious 1950s AA mounts that I was mentioning on the Vanguard. Absolutely everywhere. It's all Bofors. There's no short-range AA, all Bofors. So she's doing her maximum AA damage, I believe, in its mid-range AA, which is like 5 kilometers out, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't have it pulled up right in front of me, but I do think it's like 5 kilometers out, and you can get them out to about 7 kilometers. So Conqueror is an absolute beast in terms of AA, plus it has the Conqueror lull hill, so that makes it very, very hard for a carrier to take out with flooding or fires or anything like that. And now number 1 in the top 10 AA ships list is the queen of AA herself, the Tier 10 American battleship Montana. I have ran several tests between the Montana and the Conqueror. They are so close in terms of AA. Now, the Montana beats it out just a little bit if you have all the AA modules equipped. And in this testing, I had BFT and AFT on both of the captains. Neither of the captains had manual fire for AA, mainly because I didn't have the captain points at the time. So it was as fair of a test as I could do it. This is back when you could put like freaking 12 carriers on the enemy team in the training room. That's what I did. They both went up against 12 Tier 9 carriers. I believe it was the Essex that I put. Yeah, it was the Essex that I put. And, you know, some rounds Monty would shoot down 5 more planes. Some rounds Conqueror would shoot down 5 more planes. But I was finding that more so than not, Montana was shooting down 5, 6, 7 more planes than Conqueror. So that's why she is number 1 on this list. Now the disturbing thing is I've seen footage of the Montana from the last CV rework test. Unfortunately, I didn't get in for the last round of CV rework testing, but the round before that, where I was playing a Montana, it was kind of discouraging at how much the AA was just lacking compared to the current Montana in game. And I was sitting there thinking, because I shot down maybe 15 planes the entire game with 2 carriers on the enemy team, and they were going after me and the group that I was with fairly often, and they only shot down 15 planes. Whereas in this current, on the live version of Warships right now, Montana is an absolute no-fly zone for carriers right now. So, this rework has me worried a little bit. Hopefully they'll tone down the nerfing of the AA in the game, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's still a bit of a ways off. They can do some changes at the last moment, but I really hope they listen to the community feedback on this. And I hope this list helps you guys choose on which fly swatter you want to grind up to next, or which the premium ships and list you want to buy. But yeah, this is just giving you guys a bit of an idea of what ships you may want to be choosing for when 8.0 goes live. So if you enjoyed the video, drop a like, leave a comment, tell me what you think about the carrier rework. Are you breaking out some of those old AA spec captains, slapping them on your ships now? Because I surely am. Because it's gonna be very sky cancerous in the coming month. So again, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope to catch all of you guys in the next one.